Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, your daily fix of football chat on STV. The main talking points tonight: Inverness reveal record profits, Celtic get the go-ahead to erect a statue of Billy McNeill, and Scotland's under-21s prepare for Ukraine tomorrow night at New St Mirren Park under the watchful eye of Gordon Strachan, the international boss. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about other burning issues in football today. In the company of Alan Rough is Hugh MacDonald, our bookroom guest. Delighted to have Hugh along with us. So Inverness, £250,000 worth of profit. It's up considerably on last year, and why not? Scottish Cup winners and finishing third in the table, Roughie.
Yeah, working particularly well behind the scenes. As you know, with the crowds they get, 3,500, 4,000. They're certainly doing something right behind the scenes, and obviously the cup run would help with the income there. But no, that's a good sign for the clubs that we don't talk about very often.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course it always helps if you win the cup. Memorabilia aplenty. You want to get the cup winning shirt, the lot. I imagine that shop will be run off its feet for the full year.
Yeah, but the way they've bolstered on the back of it, of course, have sold Ryan Christie on the back of it as well. So presumably next year's figures will be decent as well. It's just a well-run club. I mean, and sometimes that can be to John Yogi Hughes's kind of frustration, because he'd be looking to get a bit of that to buy players and build on it. But this is a club that's been properly cautious and has been rewarded for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we've got a fair bit of things to talk about. One feel-good story to talk about is Celtic getting the go-ahead to erect a statue of Billy McNeill. I think the club deserves great credit, because not only is the statue going up when he's alive, and I think that's the great thing, the family, Billy himself, they'll be able to see exactly what the club thinks of him as well. But he takes his place in a one-way now that was sadly is the leader of that great Lisbon Lions team, Hugh.
Yeah, I was a great sort of shover behind this initiative. I mean, apart from the fact that Billy McNeill's place in the history of Celtic Football Club is inviolable. I mean, he's the most famous picture perhaps of Celtic will be Billy with the European Cup in front of him. He's also throughout the years been a fantastic ambassador for the club. I mean, you cannot go around the world and not hear a Celtic reporter say, "Oh, I remember the day we had Billy McNeill here, and he sat for hours signing autographs, or he was so polite." He's an absolute gentleman of a player and a character, well deserved.
Yeah, and when you go into Celtic's boardroom, Roughie, when they hold press conferences in there, you can see the frame of all his medals, which is absolutely incredible. When you think of those 9 league titles, I think there's 6 Scottish Cups, 6 or 7, I think, and League Cups are plenty as well. And then, of course, he won, titles with Celtic as a manager as well.
Yeah, and he was an excellent manager. I mean, he was so good that he brought me to Celtic.
That's right.
Yeah, very
great wisdom of
great
goalkeepers.
Great for a player, except for goalkeepers.
And knowing him as the legend that he was, sitting in the dressing room in the mornings, he always came in, and he was very proud, and he always came in with his chest was always sticking out, and everything that he'd done. And like Hugh, I mean, the lasting memory of him is standing on the up there with the European Cup, and the players weren't allowed. Is that because the fans went on the
They couldn't get them up.
He dealt with it all, and he walked up, and he's standing up, and it'd be a fantastic picture.
Well, can I tell you, actually, I think it's actually as part of the newspaper that you work for. There's a great picture of him walking through the car park with the European Cup.
Yeah, but there's a great story as well about Billy McNeill and his medals. A mate of mine told me this story when we were when I was doing something on Billy's 70th birthday, and that was they were at a party in Billy's house, and the mate said to him, "Billy, let's see your medals." And he shouted over to one of his daughters, "Oh, wait up and get the medals." He says, "They're in 2 poly bags behind the wardrobe." So they went up and they got the poly bags, and they put them all on the coffee table, splatter all the medals, and the guy says, should you not have these up on the wall and framed and all that?
Yeah.
He says, so your daughters can look at them and see what you had. And he says, I don't want my daughters to know me as a football player. He says, I want them to know me as a father.
Yeah.
What a line.
What a great line that is, isn't it? And the thing is, and you know, he can see this coming because I'm going to cane him as well. You know, a lot of the older footballers would look at that situation and understand it completely. I mean, I think you know, of the Lisbon Lions, Jimmy Johnson had a photograph, a small photograph up on one of his units in his house. You would never have known he was a footballer. I mean, absolutely incredible. And probably because his wife Agnes wouldn't have allowed anything else as well. But they were not of that generation where they wanted to display everything. I think the generation now of footballers, you know, we're all guilty of it. You have the strips, the signed ones, the players have swapped strips and got them all framed up. So I would imagine there's more of a tendency to have everything out there on show. Roughie had his in a black bin bag in his loft. All the stuff that he had, all the strips.
My mum obviously put me right, and now as you come into my house up the hall, it's the Alan Rough Museum.
Is it?
Of paintings and pictures and but that's the way it is.
And the League Cup medal.
It had to be the medal's still there. The 50, the medal, the gold medal we got for the 50 caps is still there.
Is it?
Still there, yeah. But I've got two big Rottweiler dogs, you know, just in case there's anybody who's thinking about it.
That's right. And you live in Nairn.
I have to
Anybody watching Alan lives in Nairn.
I have to say to you, he's not joking. He has a dog that should have a saddle on it. It's so tall. Anyway, well, I digress. Just on that, he's probably the one manager or the one player who could, if he wanted to, and I don't think he's ever used it, get your medals out. You know, I mean, that is just.
I mean, but the great thing about talking to players of this age, and Billy's a great example of it. If you talk to them for 20 minutes, you walk away from them thinking you're the legend and they're the punter. They're so humble. The players, and it just not the Lisbon Lions are famous for that, but. You know, if you talk to the John Greggs and you know the Willie Hendersons, so I was talking to Willie Hunter, the famous Motherwell player the other day there. Yeah, absolutely humble guys.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And there's actually a couple of specials coming up at Christmas with some very, very humble legends, not to be missed on this programme. We'll keep you up to date with that very shortly. As far as other football news is concerned, Gordon Strachan has been there with the under-21s the last 24 to 48 hours. You know, he's stated already that he wants to look at the game in depth and try and reverse this trend of failure that we have, Hugh.
Yeah, and it's you take a bit of a sigh, you know, another guy going to have a tilt at this, from Mark Water to Rhinus Michels to you know, to Henry McLeish. The list goes on. I was looking at the game. I mean, I think everybody knows the simple answer. We've got to get more kids playing more often. It's as simple as that.
We have a lot of facilities now. Kids can play a lot of five-a-sides and AstroTurf. There's lots of AstroTurf pitches around.
And we've got to up it. We've got to, and there's got to be some sort of clever way done with coaching where coaching is done at the proper times, but kids are allowed to develop without coaching as well. You know, learn their tricks. You know, make their own mistakes, because that's what happened in the old days. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm just looking at the team. I can understand where he's coming from. I'm not criticising under-21s. Let's hope they can get a good result against Ukraine. But Stuart Finlay, Marcus Fraser, Dominic Hyam, Donald Love, Callum McFadden, Jordan McGee, Callum Patterson, Andrew Robertson. I'm reading out names in that Scotland squad. Jay Fulton, Liam Henderson, John McGinn, Craig Slater, John Suter, Christie, Ryan Christie, Jason Cummings, Billy King, Stephen Mallon, Oliver McBurney, Barry Mackay, Sam Nicholson and Lawrence Shankland. I wonder in the next couple of years how many of those players we'll be talking about that's made that step up.
Well, that's the big question, you know, and look at it, but no disrespect to them, I think we're longer than that. I think we're 4 years before I can see. There will be one or two will come out the pack. Obviously Andrew Robertson's done it.
He's done it.
But there are other ones there who might jump out the pack. But you're looking at our first team in the international squad. I think you're talking 3 and 4 years before
Yeah,
before
isn't it
they burst
amazing
through.
how I can remember Think Tank 1, Think Tank 2, and everybody was talking 5-10 years.
That's right.
We're 5-10 years down the line from every one of them.
Yeah, I'm trying to retain hope because I see a couple of signs here. I think Suter will be a good player, you know, once he develops. Robertson already is. I think Christie is showing a lot at the moment, and there are people in the Scotland team around him who are, you know, too old for that team but still young, the 22, 23s, the Griffiths, etc., etc.
But see, as we're talking about, you know, the biggest problem is getting them games. And I think Scott Allen's a perfect example, who isn't playing football now.
Yeah, I mean, what has happened to Scott Allen? We'll need to do a bit of research on that. I know he had an injury, but he's been the forgotten man of football. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk Rangers. We'll also talk about some of the oldest players still kicking a ball, and lots more on the Football Show. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Football Show. We're talking Scotland's under-21s prior to the break. We've got 1 win, 1 draw, 1 defeat. That massive footballing nation, Iceland, are running away with it at the moment. Yeah, Hugh, it's a must-win game for us tomorrow in the under-21s.
Yeah, one consolation is there is Iceland that are running away from it, so we can have a look and see, you know, what are they doing that we're not doing. You know, I mean, one of the first things I would be doing is if I was chief executive of the SFA, and I presume that Stuart Regan is doing this, is go away and get a report on precisely what is happening in Iceland, because we know already that they qualified from a very strong group for the Euro 16s, from a very small base, from a country which isn't blessed with great weather either. That's always gives an excuse for Scotland. So I'd be looking at that as well, just saying, well, if they've got a template, let's nick it.
Yeah, did we not try to nick the Dutch template as well?
Yeah, we have, but we've been successful in that, and that we didn't qualify for the Euro 2016 either.
That's a very good point. Anyway, maybe we should just concentrate on trying to get back to the days when you were playing in teams. Maybe we should just actually look and say, what did you guys do to get there? What did we have? Was it an easier group?
Yeah, well, I think it was easier to qualify. I think there was only used 4 teams, but I mean, I'm obviously old school, and I know everything emphasises in coaching and getting it right, but as far as I'm concerned, you've either got it or you've not got it. Yeah. I mean, Kenny Dalglish, Graham Souness never had specialised coaching. He's a Hartford, Archie Gemmell, Gordon McQueen, Joe Jordan. When they were 10, 12, we just kicked the ball about the street. You know, we played everywhere, and they all made it. And they didn't make it because they're great coaches. They made it because they had ability.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm sure we'll go back to that. If there is pain, it's pain looking at the playoffs tomorrow, where you see the Republic of Ireland preparation today, and now it's all about Bosnia. Yeah,
I mean, that is a gut wrencher over the weekend. I mean, we held out that we could qualify automatically, and that was obviously denied us. But that last chance saloon again, and we have been in qualifiers or playoffs over the years. You know, England, Holland, years back, Czechoslovakia in '61, '62. But I would have loved. I mean, what a weekend it would have been in the media. What would a weekend it would have been in Scotland? You know, playing and Bosnia Herzegovina coming on Monday. But it's not to be. I think it's a tougher game for the Republic of Ireland than people might think. I think Bosnia are favourites. But the way Martin O'Neill sets teams up to be hard to beat, the return being in Dublin, I think they've got a shout. Yeah, I mean, by Monday, the whole of Ireland could be going crazy, Roughie. Party time once again, and then Martin gets, another 3 or 4 year deal. Yes, it's worthwhile just going over there just to experience it. I mean, they can celebrate as good as us. But as Hugh said, it's galling that there's a team there that we beat in the group, and we drew with them over there, and we're not there. And
tragedy for the players, but even more so for the supporters.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, at the weekend as well, not a lot of matches on, but we are on, Roughie, because we are going to be on from 2 o'clock on STV, because our 4-hour programme will bring the best of the games for you that have made it in the international break. And of course, there's championship games. There's a Petrofac Training Cup as well. Gus McPherson trying to get Queen's Park to a final. They take on Peterhead.
Yeah, that'd be incredible. Yeah, absolutely incredible for Queen's Park. You know, I think Gus has brought them so far ahead of where they used to be. You know, they used to be always a team down the bottom, and he's changed things around. He works tirelessly 24 hours a day, and he's getting the rewards. And we're biased, you know, that we would like to see him get in their final. Well, I certainly would.
Yeah, I would as well, actually.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%, Roughie, but by the same token, you know, I like Jim McAnally and what he's doing at Peterhead.
Two really smashing managers. I mean, two guys that talk so well and passionately about the game. I'll always, I mean, I think probably Jim's past with the SFA is ruled against him, but I'm always amazed he's not got a bigger job, because he's tactically he can set up his teams. And Gus McPherson, all I have to say about Gus is, Gus lost the job at St Mirren, right? How would St Mirren like to be where Gus McPherson took them? How would they like to still be there in the position that he left them in? So that says everything about Gus.
Yes, sometimes, you know, be careful what you wish for. I wouldn't narrow it down just to Gus, Danny Lennon as well.
Exactly.
You win a cup and then things change. But we had Ian Murray on. He's very hopeful of what he can do at St Mirren. It would be remiss of me not to talk about the ongoing saga of Rangers, Hugh, before we finish this programme, because quite simply, you're trying to keep your eye across 6 or 7 different tales at the moment, and no matter how much we love listening to Mark Warburton and what his plans are for the January window, the case that's going on at the moment, although we will not comment on anything legally on it, it has tremendous implications if it goes one way or the other.
Absolutely. I mean, this makes the EBT's case, you know, look like a sort of small argument in the corner of a pub, you know, and whereas this full-blown rammy is taking place in civil courts. I mean, the extent of it is, and the evidence that's come out today, is this strikes at the very core of Rangers. This strikes at who owns it. This strikes at, are all assets up for grabs? Are the assets, even incredibly, it's been said in court, could assets be part of criminal proceedings? It's an extraordinary case that's unravelling, and anybody who thinks they know where it's going is a much better man than me. One of the things as well is when Charles Green was arrested and charged, people thought that this would bring some kind of resolution one way or the other. But according to the evidence today, it looks as this resolution's a long way off.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you know, the club in the background must be wondering when it's all going to end. The one thing I would say is, you know, even with the EBT situation, with this case, with Mike Ashley as well, you know, there's a real groundswell of fans elsewhere who want to see the process of justice. You know, I think at the moment it has implications for the whole game.
Yeah, I'm not underplaying, but you know, we're saying that the court case is much more dominant than the EBTs. I'm not underplaying that. That's a really important moral and ethical argument to be had there. I'm just meaning that for the sheer existence and future of Rangers, this court case will have bigger implications. But these strands are so enmeshed at the moment, you know, where people can't give you, I mean, in court today, you've got QCs on their £1,000 a day refreshers who are arguing over the very ownership of Rangers, the very existence or otherwise of the club, the very, you know, the very state of their assets and who can have them and who can, I mean, this is fundamental stuff. And it doesn't seem to be unravelling into any clear picture. It seems to be getting more and more a ball of wool.
Although I have to say that you know, for everyone out there who supports other teams, it doesn't signal the demise of Scottish football. What it does is it continues this crippling nature that we have at the moment, where probably if we had, you know, the most competitive teams in the top flight, we would have an even better, more sellable asset. But that's not in any way trying to, acquit Rangers of anything that they have to face up to.
Oh no, I mean Rangers will have to be subject to the same laws as each and every one of us, and same laws in a sporting sense as each and every other team. And it's not just Rangers. I mean, and who are in the Championship, of course. But even Scottish football could do with. Like Hibs getting up as well, and Falkirk. I mean, teams that have got strong supports and strong bases.
Yeah, I still think we should be looking, and not just because it could come down to Hibs or Rangers this season. I still think we should have a 16 team. 18, maybe not 18. I've always been an advocate of 16 teams here.
Yeah, I think I have as well. I mean, I understand the business arguments against it because the clubs there want more and more games. They did want more and more games against Celtic and Rangers, and they wanted that protected. But I think for playing and for fans, it would be much better. You would then get the state of some teams would have dead games towards the end of the season, but that would have an upside in that they could. We're looking at this under 21 squad. They could maybe play some of these kids in Premiership football.
It just shows you how much we're missing, not just Rangers but Hibs as well. We're missing all the derby games. As I said before we came in, I watched the 2011 game at Ibrox, Rangers and Celtic, before I came in, and it was the highlights, and it just shows you what you're missing.
Yeah.
The excitement and the passion, everything that goes with that game. It was great to watch just half an hour of it.
Yeah. What's it like to have half an hour free, Roughie, when you can watch these games?
Well, I think you'll file that to HMRC as preparation time for this programme and probably charge you for it.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt he'll charge me for it. It's a stonewall certainty. Listen, great chat as ever with Hugh MacDonald. Always great to have him on the programme. Don't forget, at Peter and Roughie on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Roughie if you want to give us your views. From Roughie and myself, join us tomorrow if you can on the programme. Thanks for watching.